Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. This show is dedicated to asking tough questions for you, the viewers. We bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Today, we're continuing our coverage of getting to know the candidates who want to be your mayor for the great city of Methuen. And today, we are joined here at our MCTV studio by City Councilor at Large and candidate for Methuen's mayor, Mr. Steve Zanni. Mr. Zanni, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Hector.
Tell us, who is Steve Zanni?
Well, hopefully they can see me, but in terms of understanding what I'm about, I grew up in the city of Lawrence, which had a great, not only upbringing, but graduated from Lawrence High. Then from there, went on to Curry College in Milton, Mass., received my bachelor's degree, and then got at Fitchburg State University, got my master's degree in administration. I was a teacher and administrator for 36 years, retiring 4 years ago. I've been very much involved, as you know, in the city of Methuen, primarily with the council at large. This is my last term because we have term limits. And there's a lot of things that have happened, I think, by serving on the city council. Number one being that we brought in the West Methuen people where I live, had no post office at all. So now we have a satellite post office at Galloway's, which I think people are very happy. We had an issue with dogs, dangerous dogs. Myself and another councilor were able to put that forth and had an ordinance put forth for that. I think that's helped a lot in our community as well. And the other big things that I'm working on is I'm on the building committee for the new high school. I've also been involved, as you know, with the football. I've been a volunteer with the football program over the last couple of years. And that's been a real plus. I've enjoyed the kids at Methuen High School, a great bunch of kids. So that pretty much tells you a little bit about myself. I'm also married. I better get that out. My wife will kill me if I don't. I've been married for 39 years. I have a son and a daughter. My son is an orthopedic consultant for Stryker who does shoulder, hip, and knee replacements. He's married with two kids, Gianna. We have two grandchildren, two granddaughters, Gianna and Eva. They live in Methuen here now. And my daughter, Jana, is married to Vinny Pesci. She's a lawyer, and her husband is also a lawyer. They have their office in the east end of Methuen, right across from St. Lucy's Church, which we're parishioners of. And she has a son, Enzo, and she's expecting her second son in September. So that tells you a little bit about it. I've been living in Methuen since 1979.
Great. Now, and we thank you for teaching the children of Methuen as well. You mentioned 36 years you spent teaching the children?
Right, but not in Methuen, in New Hampshire, Hudson, New Hampshire.
Okay. Tell us, what is a day like for Steve Zanni, from like the minute you wake up till the time you go back to bed?
Well, the first thing I do when I get up, besides showering and getting ready for going downstairs, I go downstairs, put the coffee pot on for my wife and myself. After that, and I have breakfast, I normally read a couple of papers, whether it be the Globe, the Times, and the local Eagle Tribune. I get those papers. I also then go to the computer, looking up what's going on, not only nationally, but locally as well. And then I go through my email, seeing who's been calling. And then I, at times, turn on the TV to check the weather forecast for the day and what the week is going to behold. And from that point, I go out into the community. If people call me, I normally visit a neighborhood. If there's some need that they have, I'll be there. I visit the city hall to make sure if there's any issues there as well. And then from that point, later in the day, especially in the afternoon, I go back out in the community again, especially now in the mayoral run. You have a tendency to meet not only with groups, individual people that own businesses, neighborhood groups. So I've been doing that. And then in the evening, when I'm home, I normally I like to read a lot. So I enjoy that. I'm just reading the last line from Ted Kennedy. I don't know if you read that or not, but it's given me a good insight in terms of his lifestyle. So I enjoy reading a lot as well. So that takes you through a typical day right now. In the past, I would be up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, of course, because I get ready for preparing classes, and then, of course, afterwards I was in an administrative role as well. So I've enjoyed all those things, Hector, and I think in a normal day, that'll take you through. And then on the weekends, with the family, we like to relax. This will not be a relaxing summer because we'll be out on the campaign trail. The most important thing to me was getting the family commitment. You know, people say I'm running for mayor. It's more than running for mayor. It, number one, involves, first of all, making sure your family is set. To me, that's tantamount to anything. So I sat down with my wife and my family and told them what my considerations were. Initially, they weren't too pleased with the whole endeavor. the end result has been that they're supportive now, and as long as the family is set. So they're behind me 100%, and that was very important for me to run for mayor. And I'm in the race, I think, to bring not only some leadership, but leadership for progress. That will be my campaign slogan throughout. So that's what I'm looking for. And it's been a great 2 weeks for me. It's only been 2 weeks that I, as you know, announced, but it's been a great thing getting community, seeing people, and we have a great community here, and I think it has tremendous potential.
Well, with the busy schedule that you do, you know, from checking your emails from the time you get up and so on, going down, talking to your constituents, and checking up on situations at City Hall, tell us, what is a relaxing day for Steve Zanni?
A relaxing day for me would be, number one, I enjoy to work out, so I go to the gym for an hour and a half, then come back, shower, relax a little bit. And I think the most relaxing thing I have is when my grandchildren come over. We have a nice pool in our yard, and when they, especially in the summertime, they come over, and to see them in the pool and teaching them how to swim, that's really enjoyable to me. So, and I have a garden as well. I didn't mention that. I have being Italian, of course, we have some innate qualities when it comes to gardening. So I have a great garden, and I normally get a lot of tomatoes, and I give them to neighbors and such, but I've enjoyed that as relaxing as well. And I have a rock garden, because that's from the science background. So relaxing wise, and sitting down sometimes in the backyard, lounging on a chair of that nature. But I think more than just a relaxing day for me is being able to be with my family, and especially with the grandchildren. We, like I say, we have 3 with a 4th, and having family around is very important to me.
Now, besides going home and watching behind the scenes on television on a regular basis, is there like any favorite television show that you like to watch that catches your attention?
I enjoy football. That's been I think my love since I was a young man, and I really enjoy that. And the other thing I enjoy is the cable channel, basically the news channel. And I love documentaries. I like to watch documentaries in history. But as far as watching the regular channels, I don't have any. I don't have that much time, or do I have that much interest in that aspect of TV. But I do enjoy documentaries related to history, and if there's a sports that I love, you know, the Red Sox. People know that I have a passion for sports, and football being number one. But that's what I really do when it comes to TV.
Now, did you? We know that you do the sports, cover sports, and all that other stuff. Did you ever play sports when you were younger?
Yes, not only played, but in college, I had 2 very sad things that occurred 2 years ago, and one very happy ending. 2 years ago, we lost my mother and my wife's mother, who I'm sorry they're going to miss this campaign. And that was a real sad state of affairs, because they were not only big back, especially my mother-in-law. They would be at every event. It's going to be a real miss this year. And 2 years ago, I got inducted into my college, Curry College Hall of Fame for football. And I was pretty quick, I guess they say. And I still attend. I go down to the college periodically to attend some of the games. And track, I was very big in track as well. So those 2 sports I played quite a bit.
Now, do you have any special music you like? Any favorite music that you like to listen to that makes you relax or makes you on the go, gives you energy?
Frank Sinatra, The Summer Wind, and some of his, and I have the CDs on him. But Frank Sinatra, I really enjoyed his thing. And Dean Martin is another favorite. Of course, 2 fellas long gone, but I really enjoyed their style of singing. And Frank Sinatra from his way, but Dean Martin in his humorous ways in which he get across his message. So those 2, I really enjoy their music. And I have some other things that I enjoy with music, but those would be my 2 favorite people that I really enjoy, and I do have a lot of their albums.
Now growing up, was there a particular subject that made you want to continue school education and see how important education is? Yeah.
Well, I grew up in a 3 tenement. My mother, father, and my sister and I all grew up on a third floor. And my folks, being of Italian descent, education was very important to them. They didn't have the education, and they made sure that was very important to them, that their son and daughter would get a good education. And that was important, and I think we get that from an upbringing with family. And as I entered school, I really started to tend towards the sciences. I had a couple of great teachers at the high school that are long gone now at Lawrence High School, and that kind of got me interested in that. And then some of the people, of course, with sports kind of bring you along. But I seem to really get a real enjoyment of that. And as I got more and more involved, especially at the college level, and get into the teaching of the science, I did a more of an interactive approach as opposed to talking about science. The students would have a chance to partake in experiments, and seeing them understand from beginning to end how that was accomplished really showed the excitement in the classroom. And I think when you have engaging the students in education, it's a lot more than just talking about it or reading about it. And I've enjoyed that aspect. So that got me really involved when I was younger, I think. And of course, like anything else, TV wasn't the prime importance. It was all about what you could do. So, but that kind of put me along the line of for the sciences, I think.
Now, being a teacher and so on, and going through the education process growing up, have you seen the schools lean away from certain studies that they used to cover in your days that they don't cover now?
Well, I think in terms of covering, no, I think they've actually probably got more in that. I think the one big change we have in our society in general is the family front, the home front. In the case of my family, it was always being together. Dinner time, we're sitting around talking about our day. I think the families today are it's such a fast-paced life, as you know, Hector, that kids are playing this, they're playing that. 5 o'clock, I got to be here. 6 o'clock, I got to be there. Mom and dad are working. When I grew up, my mom was at home. And today you have, because of the economy, you have two parents that are working. The kids sometimes come home from school on their own. So that becomes difficult. In terms of the academics, I'm on the building committee for the new high school. It's going to be a fantastic school for the kids and for the future. But to me, education, whatever you have, it's very important to have the key to that as the teacher. And if you have a good teacher that has all the idiosyncrasies for being a good teacher, such as discipline, such as knowing their subject matter, such as caring for kids, those things go across to kids, and kids really get involved. If you have those aspects as a teacher in your repertoire, more times than not, those kids are going to relate to you, and they're going to go home talking about school. I think in Methuen we got some outstanding teachers. I think the high school is going to be a big plus, because that school, as you probably remember, or still is open concept, and that's what a lot of the youngsters today would have trouble with. My son went through Methuen High School. I know I've gone through there. I would have had a difficult time going under that environment. I would have been probably looking around, seeing this one and that one, and not being able to concentrate. So we got to give it credit. We have some great students there that are able to still get through with that type of atmosphere in the building. But I think we have great teachers. I think the end result is with the new building will be more traditional, as you mentioned earlier, and I think that's going to be important for most of the youngsters going to high school. So that's a plus, and that's what we're shooting for.
What's your favorite dinner, your favorite dish?
My favorite dish? Wow. I'm just giving you all the Italian stuff, but I think that's probably where I'm at all the time. But pasta, I can eat as long as the sauce is a good. I do cook as well. My grandfather on my mother's side was a chef, so I learned a lot of some of his cooking techniques. And the sauce is very, very important in the type of pasta you're going to have. But I would say pasta, homemade meatballs. I could eat pasta probably out of 7 days. I could probably eat 4 out of 7 days a week. But I enjoy that. And then chicken. I enjoy cooking on the grill a lot with chicken and fish. We do fish a lot too. So I enjoy that aspect. But my favorite dish would probably be the pasta and meatball and raviolis. And then the thing is, the kids enjoy. I did last year. I made them. I'm sure they'll see this. A tray of homemade lasagna, which I try to compare it to my late mother, but it just didn't size up to that. But those are some of the dishes I really enjoy.
Now, you have right now, as of right now, there are 3 candidates running for the position of mayor. One of your opponents, Al Denuncio, was recently on our show on a segment of Getting to Know the Candidates, and he spoke about he's a business owner and what got him involved in politics and so on. But the cheapest date he ever taken his wife was to Salisbury. You've been married a long time. What was the cheapest date you've ever taken your wife to?
Cheapest date? I don't think I've had a cheap date. Going to the beach or something of that nature, maybe walking around, getting a fried dough of that nature. But my wife is very accommodating, so And if we go out, I try to, we go to some nice restaurants. But as far as I wouldn't call it a cheap date. My wife, I think, deserves a lot more than just cheap things of that nature. But I don't think we ever had a cheap date. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, we were all young at one time. I've been with my wife now 17 years, and I can tell you that, White Castle was one of my cheapest dates, 49 cents hamburger, ask for the change back if you get 50 cents. But is there like any card games you like to play? Do you have favorite card games?
Well, I enjoy, we have a group, we meet periodically, a house group, and we play all kinds of games, different poker games, and I enjoy that. But every game is different. If you don't keep on track, you lose sight of what you're trying to concentrate on. So I enjoy that. We play that periodically, and we have a group of fellows that have been with for 20 years.
Just want to remind the viewers, you are watching Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. We are sitting down talking with City Councilor at Large and candidate for mayor for the great city of Methuen, Mr. Steve Zanni. And Mr. Zanni, I just wanted to ask you, you've educated the children, you've been a teacher, you've been involved in the community. What made you get into politics? What drove you to that point that says you need to do something?
Well, I'm going to go back a little ways, basically going back to 1990, it would be over 21 years ago when I first got involved here in the city. And I had a son entering high school, along with other parents that were entering high school. And they were involved in a sports program. And they had a user fee. If you go back and check, they used to have a user fee here. So we're going to games, and then one of the fathers that I was sitting with at a freshman game, he said, geez, I got 2 other kids coming up, but they're not going to be able to play. I said, why aren't they going to be able to play? He said, well, we got a user fee, and I can't afford 3 youngsters. And then you're playing for every season. You had to play for the fall, and if they do basketball or baseball in the spring. And I knew what it was like coming from Lawrence, that now you have to pay 3 different sports. And if you have 3 kids, that's almost like a tax. So the end result is we're sitting around, I said, gee, you ought to run for school committee. I says, well, the only reason I went for school committee to get rid of the user fee. And being a parent, I think it's important on the school committee. The end result of that was I got on the school committee, and we did away with the user fee. The superintendent at the time is now gone, but that superintendent at the time, they had it in place. They thought it was important to raise revenue for the sports program. But I think when you start talking user fees, to me it's like a tax, especially on families that can't afford it. So sounds that are in the school system, I think it's important that if you have something you want to accomplish, run for the school committee. I think it's a great place to get involved with initially, and you're also helping the community. So that really got me involved, Hector, into that. Then eventually, of course, the council seat. But that's where I really got involved, was that aspect from the very beginning.
Now, when you first got involved with government, and you mentioned earlier that family structure has changed, and many people will blame government because government created the mess, forcing two households to go out and work and spend less time with the children. Is government working for the people today, and not how they worked 20 years ago?
Well, like anything else, times have changed. You know what it's like today. But what you have to look at, we have to look at Methuen, and look at Methuen in comparison to other communities. What you have is number one, and I've been around the last 2 weeks in the campaign talking to people, and people are basically very happy with their community. The reasons why. Look at your tax, what you're paying for taxes in comparison to other communities. And I mentioned earlier, you don't have a trash fee pickup. You don't have user fees. You don't have a bus fee. You have all kinds of programs in the city. You have those helping the needy and those that are maybe a little better off. And you have all your cable TV, all the different programs, the senior center. We have things here, I think, that people can be proud of. So there are things here, I think, that totally can involve the family. And were they different from years ago? Of course it was, because, like I said, times have changed, as you said. And I said, I think, at the outset, where both parents are working to bring in what they want. So I think we have a great community here, and I think you can get involved in the context of those different things that I just mentioned.
Looking forward, what's your vision for Methuen?
Well, I think some things I'm looking at is the completion. I've been on the building committee for the high school since its inception. I was chairman of the council 6 years ago, and I was on the first group that went into Boston with the intent for a new high school. And I'd like to say I've been on that building committee since. That, to me, is number one, is getting that high school on time, on budget, And I think you're going to see a lot of the people, and I've talked to residents, they will send their sons and daughters to the high school once the open concept has gone away. So that's going to be number one. The second thing we have to look at is an economic development director. In order for your city to move forward is to have somebody in there who can market our community to bring businesses in. Right now we know the economy is bad, but other communities can take advantage of grants, but we don't have that right now. So those would be two initial things that I really be at the forefront, would be the high school to complete that on time, on budget, and getting it ready, along with the central school, which would be for the 9th graders coming this fall. And then the second thing would be economic development director. The third aspect I'm looking at is the team. The way I see the city right now, we have fragmentation. And by that I mean, as an administrator in the past, and I've seen how it's done, to me, you have to have weekly meetings with your department heads of all the city. And I think by bringing in the department heads at a weekly meeting, what are their goals and objectives for the year, what are they trying to accomplish, and then I as an individual, for the residents, will have an opportunity after a year to evaluate the personnel. What have they actually accomplished in terms of their goals and objectives, and maybe some things that they have to improve upon. But when you have that, you can collectively work together to hopefully create not only a better community, but move the community forward.
And I just want to remind the viewers, you are watching Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. If you have a question that you want us to ask government officials or legal representation, send us an email at thehectormontalvoshow@yahoo.com. You can also visit our webpage at behindthescenes.weebly.com or join our Facebook, Behind the Scenes with Hector Montalvo. Mr. Zanni, we have 2 minutes left. What are you hearing out there from the people? What's their main concern in regards to their government?
Well, the only things I've heard in the 2 weeks is, number one, they're happy with their community. They want to see these lawsuits go away. They're tired of reading about the different issues that occur, and I think the image can be presented in a better way in that aspect. So I think I look at that. I think the people overall are looking for a government that's going to be not only accountable, but being able to work and moving this community ahead, because we have some great things that can be accomplished here. And I think I'm the individual that can lead the community in that respect.
If you can look into the camera over here and just basically tell the viewers what makes you different than any other politician running against you or that has run in the past and made pledges to individual people, and you see how government operates now. What makes you different, and why do you think you can do a better job than the other candidates?
Well, I think, first of all, I bring into this campaign an education, especially on the school side, that I think is very important over these next few years, primarily with the high school that's going to be built. The second thing I bring forth, I think, is a we as opposed to I. I believe working collectively with people, and I think it's important that we look on a positive note. I've talked to people in the community. We have a lot of naysayers, people like, we can't do this, we can't do this, I don't like this, I don't like that. If you have a solution to a problem, I say to those individuals, come forth and give us your answer. If you don't have a positive approach or you don't have an answer for something, then try to be part of the solution. And I think that's what we have in here. I think I'm one that will be able to lead the city for progress. I think I'm the one that has been involved not only from the city council, but I've been on the finance committee. I know what the budget's all about. I know what it is to create an ordinance, how to put forth a resolution. I know how to work with councilors. And I think I bring a good perspective in terms of answering any question that might be out there. I will have an open door policy with the people, and those that know me realize that in the end result of this will be for not only a good government, but a government that'll be good, I think, for the future as well.
Now, it's interesting that you say that you will have an open door policy. Does that mean that a Zanni administration, the people of Methuen, would expect an open and transparent government within the administration? No question.
And Hector, it's going to be, too, that if there's a resident that has an issue, you don't have to call up. If they want to come in and I'm not in a meeting of that nature, they're going to be welcome to come right in the office and talk one-on-one. They won't have to go through anybody else.
Great. Well, Mr. Zanni, we appreciate you coming in and taking the time and letting the viewers get to know who you are on a personal side and all your accomplishment. We thank you for everything you do for the people of Methuen, for the community, the education of the children, for the sports that you participate in and you cover. Methuen Ranger also.
Ranger Football Rewind, we have a show. Exactly, been doing that for a couple of years.
When would that come back?
That'll start up in August again.
It will be.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you, and want to thank the viewers at MCTV. We want to thank the crew at MCTV, and thank you at home for watching. Join us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Thank you for joining us.